Maximize your skills with rudimental drumming at schoolofsuperdrumming.com. The link is in the description. So first, we're going to break down the basic level of this lick. First, starting out with count 1, as you can see, you got accents on your first and fourth partial, followed by the high mom on your second partial, hence the little triangle there. Moving on to count 2, this time you're going to backstick on the first partial, and then you're going to play a stick shot right off your right hand for the third partial. Now when you're comfortable enough, you're going to go ahead and put counts 1 and 2 together. The key thing for all of these is that you want to go over this nice and slow, so that way you know that you're playing the proper beats. Now this time we're going to go over the stick twirl part of this lick. If you look at the sheet music, right after you play that stick shot, you're going to do your stick twirl while you're playing 3 beats off of your left hand, all 16th notes. Now we're going to move on to count 3, which at the last partial is going to be a crossover. You can go ahead and add the stick twirl in while you're playing those left-handed beats, so that way you can get used to the motion of it while you're going into a crossover. So as you can see, the crossover is going to land on the fourth partial of count number 3, and then it's going to go into count number 4. Finally, going on with count number 4, we're going to start with the left hand over the right hand, so that way you can practice coming out of the crossover with your left hand to play that accent on the second partial. Finally, when you are comfortable enough, we're going to play this whole entire lick. Before we learn how to play the high mom hurda-diddle, first we got to learn how to play the hurda-diddle itself. So first you're going to play 3 strokes off of your right hand. You got to practice this rhythm over and over so you can get used to it in your mind and for muscle memory purposes. Next, we're going to implement the high mom in between those 3 beats we just played. So essentially, your first 2 notes are going to be 30-second notes, with the second partial being the high mom. Now, just like we practiced before, we're going to do the same thing with our left hand with this rhythm. Practice playing the triple stroke over and over until you get used to it. Now this time we're going to play the left-handed led version of this hurda-diddle, but with the backsticking aspect. Now finally, we're going to put all of this together. It's going to go through count 1 and half of count number 2. Essentially, you got 2 hurda-diddles, but the first hurda-diddle is going to be the high mom version of it, and then the second one is going to be the backstick version of it. Next, we're going to go over the stick twirl. It's going to start off with that right hand shot coming out of the end of count number 2. Now we're going to put counts 1 and 2 together, and it's going to end at the first partial of count number 3. The key here is to practice all of the combinations of these stick tricks with these different rhythms. This time we're going to practice the crossover within the hurda. And this is going to come out of the end of count 3 going into the first partial of count number 4. Now this time we're going to do the and of count 3 going into count 4. That means we're going to do repeat crossovers within the hurda. Finally, we're going to do the entirety of counts 3 and 4. And as you can see right at the beginning, it is coming out of that right hand stick twirl. So if you want to practice getting used to that, you can do this as well. When you feel comfortable enough, try to slowly play this entire lick. First, we're going to practice the diddle with the high mom. Make sure you accent that diddle. Don't be afraid to do so. Now we're going to add another partial to this. It's going to be a right hand diddle. Next, we're going to start at the last partial of count number 1, which is going to be a left-handed accented diddle, followed by a right-handed backstick going into the first partial of count number 2, and then you're going to play a diddle right after that off your left hand. Now this time we're going to do count 1, and we're going to include the backstick in from count number 2. It's going to be on the first partial of count 2. Next, we're going to practice the stick twirl. It's going to be part of count 2 going into count number 3, the first 2 partials of count 3. Next, we're going to do the entirety of counts 1 and 2. This is going to include the high mom, the right-handed backsticking in count 2, followed by the right-hand stick twirl coming out of that right-hand shot from the third partial of count number 2. The next thing you got to tackle is the paradiddle, and you're going to do this paradiddle with the crossover. As long as you know how to do the paradiddle, this shouldn't be too much to handle. All you got to do is cross over with your left hand on the second partial of that paradiddle. Next, we're going to do the single stroke 7 with the crossover. And through the entirety of the single stroke 7, you're going to have your left hand over the top of your right hand. Alright, now you're doing the crossovers starting from the end of count number 3 going all the way through to count number 4. Now we're going to add the first 2 partials from count number 3, and we're going to play through the whole entire thing. Notice that I am starting out with the right hand twirl while I'm playing the first 2 beats off the left hand. Now lucky for you, we're going to break down this crossover flip real quick. First, you want to hit the drum with your right hand stick, and you're going to have your left hand stick over the top of your right hand. While at the same time, you're going to have your left hand stick over the top of your right hand stick. And then as you can see in this example, I am throwing the right hand stick under the left stick, and then I'm catching it with my left hand while I still have my left stick in my hand. First thing you want to do is get used to flipping your right hand stick while your left hand is crossing over it, or you have it hovering over it, whichever way you want to practice this. Then when you feel comfortable enough, try to catch it with your left hand. Don't be afraid to drop the stick. Step 1 and step 2, you got to fully commit to the toss and the catch. Otherwise, you're just going to keep fumbling. If you try to go through this scared, then you're most likely going to drop the stick. So don't be afraid to drop the stick and toss the stick and catch it with confidence. As far as how I'm catching it with my left hand, I'm actually catching it with my thumb, and then I'm locking it up with my other fingers. So you should practice locking your stick up with your thumb and fingers so that you know how to catch it when you throw it in the air. And just practice doing this motion over and over and over until you get used to the catch and the toss and all of that good stuff. Alright, when you're comfortable enough, go ahead and try this whole entire lick. Like this video and subscribe to the channel. If you want full access to over 500 videos of stick tricks, rudiments, and exercises, sign up today at schoolofsuperdrumming.com. The link is in the description.